Okay, I'd like to introduce Janeese Hennaway from Townsville Library to talk about the Murri Rainbow Book Club, from which she runs. This is publicised on Instagram. It's really exciting to have Janeese talking with us today from Townsville. It's wonderful, being able to use technology this way. Again, with questions, just as with Robin, please come up to the front so that you can ask them directly of Janeese so she can see you when you're asking them. I'll hand over to Janeese now. Thanks very much, Janeese.
Thank you, Ellen. As you know, I'm the Indigenous Library Resources Officer, and being part of this Indigenous Murri Rainbow Book Club. So what I have done is I've provided a presentation. It's not that long, but I'm just going to share it with you, and it's just about the book club. So can you see anything up there?
We're seeing a blue screen at present.
Okay. Well, it should be sharing my PowerPoint actually. So, well,
just.
Oh, hang on. Oh, there. Can you see that?
Yes. Yes. So if you press let's live then to full screen that would be brilliant.
Okay, let's get this happening. I'm trying to. This is all new stuff for me. It's not really new, but I'm trying to look for the button down here to make. Oh, here we go. Okay, now. As you can see on the board, this is the Indigenous Rainbow Book Club, but I didn't start this until later on and down the track. So as you see, the first bullet point that I have is 2013 to 2014. I had requested that I start a professional Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples professionals, that we have a book club at night, and it would be for us to sit and relax and talk about books. But the thing was that we didn't want to concentrate on heavy Indigenous Australian books. We wanted to concentrate more on easy reading books, fictional books, so different books that we got from the library here. And because a lot of our Indigenous professionals said we are always surrounded by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander issues, so we don't really want to read about it because we already are living in it. So that's what I thought. Well, I'd try and do something different. This was our first one from 2013, 2014, and then that went from there. And then I thought it started to break away a bit. So I suggested that I wanted to look at another area within the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander audience, that I can do another book club. But how it all began is that I started to have networking. I started to socialise. I started to communicate with another group, another set of people within the Indigenous community. And then I heard from their voices, I heard that they so needed to share a book club that could make them feel at home, that could make them feel more relaxed, that they're not judged upon, or they're not things like that, so that they're not secluded or things like that. So I thought, wow, it's right in front of me. Why don't I start this is where we started the rebirth of a new Murri book club, and I started it, my audience, I started focusing it on GLBTIs, because there is quite a percentage here in Townsville, within Palm Island. There are a lot of Indigenous GLBTIs. So I started that. So now then I thought, well, I did have an audience. I had about 3 or 4 people that I call them floating members. So that's a term that we use, because if sometimes one of the young women she travels a lot, but sometimes we would get connected by phone if she wanted to ring by phone, and we could talk and discuss the different books. So I thought, I think, well, how am I going to select the different books now? So I started looking at all sorts of books from my providers that the library, the collections development team we have a service providers that we go through our books. So I have a thing on what books I want. So this is how I chose the title of books. So I mainly concentrated on Aboriginal and Torres Strait. Then I went mainly into the First Nations peoples, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. So what I was really intrigued. I wanted to know their way of culture, and if it was similar to our way of culture. But I did add a bit of African American novels also to that. So how I chose the books is I really concentrated on their titles. Their titles, if that title didn't capture my attention, well, I would put that aside. The pictures, you look at the man who fell in love with the moon. I saw that and I thought, wow, that has such a spiritual meaning behind it. It probably has more purpose behind it. So I thought, well, I need to look at sort of books like this because all in all, we are spiritual people. Sometimes we only look at our own physical self of ourselves or the outside of us. But do we really know when we read? Do we really know go from our spiritual out? So also, like I said, I theme storylines. So Alice Walker, The Colour Purple. We really had trouble reading that because it was a different African American language that it was hard. Sorry.
Just a note to the people who are watching online, if you could mute your microphones, that's really helpful. If you need to ask a question, please use chat. Thank you.
So the theme based, I looked at the spirit, soul and body, mainly the spirituality of it, because I love not only in the natural, but I love also in the metaphysic realm. So that's how I look at books too. So I look at it in the natural theme, but also in the spiritual theme, because as being Aboriginality, we are more spiritual than spiritual beings. Like I said, we are all spiritual beings, but it's just getting that spiritual being happening. So now I'm just going to show you a few different books that I have chosen. So you're probably aware of some of them, but I'll just leave a few minutes so you can just have a look at the story of the different books. The Price of Salt, Alice Walker, The Colour Purples. There's a movie out with that too. So I'll just leave it for a few seconds before I change it so you can have a look at it. So these books were chosen. So this one was a very interesting one, Zami. It's a fast-moving chronicle from the author's vivid. We haven't read this book yet. So this really caught my attention because she's called it biomythography, is a term created by Audre Lorde. She's a radical feminist, lesbian, and a woman of colour to describe her 1982 book, Zami. I don't know if any of you have read it, but I've got this off the Epiclappics. It said she has the elements of biography, history of myth. So this is how she puts it in from many sources. So I thought, wow, that's interesting. So we haven't read that book yet, but I can't wait for our group to read that book. So we've got The Roundhouse. That's Canadian. So I hope that's okay with what you're looking at the moment. So we do have a bit of Aboriginal, Indigenous books too. So we got My Island Homicide. We've got Biting Back, that was a very funny one, where the son gets up and informs his mother that he's white and a woman. So that, and it was a bit of swearing in there, explicit. But you know what? It was great to read. I mean, sometimes we like to read funny stuff too, and just to be into that character of this young man, and he's Indigenous, but yet he says he's of the opposite colour. So The Power of Bones. So that's another book that we've got in our collection. Okay, The Man That Fell in Love with the Moon. So yeah, these are the different ones. Oh, I forgot there's a Maori book that we've got in there. So David Munro has everything a man could want: a beautiful wife, 2 adoring daughters, a top at the academic position in a circle of devoted friends. But he also has another life. Lived many at night, frequently in what he becomes known as the Garden of Spain. the places where gay and bisexual men meet. And then we have Becoming Two Spirits. Now, this is my latest book, too, that I've just purchased. Most of these books I've purchased overseas. So this is a balancing of the male and the female spirit, even as he tries to blend gay and native identity. So that is a good one to read also. So some of them we haven't read. And is that you, Ruthie? So I still put a bit of Indigenous touch in there, flavour in there. Now these are Baldwin early fictions. This is just how I run my book club. I'm very interested in a lot of African American literature also. So I haven't got a bit of Dr. Martin Luther King, but I'll eventually get there. But in my end presentation, it says you are a spiritual being. So I'm trying to get disconnected here. Do I just get off the screen so you can see me? So can everyone see me?
Yes.
Okay, now I'm just trying to, sorry. I'm trying to get this organised to bring me up again. I might have to get my tech man to come in and I'm very thin with this at the moment. Stop sharing. I'm so sorry. Sorry, Ellen. Can I just duck out for a minute just to get my IT man to fix me up back to it is at the way it was? Is that okay?
That's fine. We can see you.
Okay. So, do we have any questions? I was trying to get that off my screen, but it's not working. Do we have any questions?
We have, hello, I'm Oriana.
Very fine, thank you.
What I'm going to do is just give them a minute to think about the question.
Yep.
But then when they are not shy, bang, they come in with a whole bunch of questions. So get ready for it.
Okay, I will try my best.
Yes. So we hear about an inspirational and very interesting title in her book club. So is there any question? Please. So we have a person coming to ask your question and you will be able to see her too.
Hi, Denise.
Oh, hi.
Hi. Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Yep. I'm just wondering about translating the adult kind of Indigenous LGBTQI book club to young adult, and does it work at all, or have you had any experience?
No, I haven't experienced that yet. I haven't looked into that yet because mainly I was looking at adult book clubs at the moment. But I do have, there is a lot of young Indigenous guys and girls now that have that gender diversity role, and yeah, I mean that could be a further interest for me that that I might explore that with the community too. So yeah, I mean I'm putting it on the shelf at the moment, but I'm just concentrating on the adults at the moment.
And have you had any luck spreading the group to different libraries across regions of Australia?
No, I haven't. I really haven't. So it's just a little small group, and I have did an article with Dr. Maggie Nolan from Australian, I think it's Australian Catholic University. So we have written about the Murri Book Club. So, but other than that, no, we just faithfully once a month come and just read our books. I'll talk about our books and things like that. So, if it goes nationally, that's okay. If it doesn't, I'm fine with that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah.
Question on chat. Okay, I will do the text thing.
Okay, we've got a question that's come in via chat.
Because I can't get up. Yeah, sorry.
How many people are in your Murri Rainbow Book Club, and how many regularly turn up?
Okay, so when I recently I said to them before that I have a floating members. So sometimes floating members that come in and out. So I do have a mother and a daughter. Okay, so the ladies in the old ladies in her late 70s. Her daughter labels herself as gender diversity. I have another young lady that comes. I even have an old man that comes. He's very interested in the actual topic, the different literature that we read. And I mean, I was surprised, but he seems to be coming, so he wants to read. So I think about maybe six, but they're not regular. Sometimes some don't come, and sometimes some do come. So I don't. It's not a structured book club to me. It's like if they come, they come. If they don't come, well, there's reasons why they didn't come. So I hope that answered their question.
Seems to they haven't done any further comment. Now, with the titles you were listing, do you have, are they available on the website, or could people contact you directly to find out about back titles?
Like I said, I surf the net, so I put in through a lot of different search words. I put in a lot of Canadian literature and things like that. So even Baldwin. So I put all in different names. So it's all on. I've surfed the net, and then I leave it to my collections development team to actually send for it. Then, so I do my research on the internet.
Okay, but if people wanted to find out the titles that you've used in the reading group, could they contact you to get a list of those titles?
Yes, if they're interested, because I think it's good that we try to read different books from a different country too, because I want to see if their culture, like with the two-spiriting, I want to see if the same culture is like that, because a lot of black nations, I've went to Solomon Islands, a lot of young girls hold hands, but yet they could be cousins, or yet I don't know. But the thing is, sometimes we need to learn from another culture to look at our culture. Is it similar but yet different?
Totally. It just sounds like it's an amazing group. And yep, we haven't had any further feedback, so it looks like you answered that question on chat. I'll just leave it in case someone else has got another question.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions? I just have a thought. My background clearly is a non-English speaking one, even when sometimes I said I don't have an accent. And I think we tend to group. It's a security net thing. So I would say, well, I actually live in Fairfield, so everybody lives there. And number one, we see titles coming out in general in the bestseller list, and it takes less than a year to be translated in a different language. So we have access to those books. And I don't think there's a lot of diversity in what we did in translation either. It's very rare that we will find a book that in any way reflects. And gay literature, honestly, I walk into the library and I'm a person who never pick up a book from the shelf. I'll go straight to the display and I read the back of the book. So it takes me maybe less than a minute to read a book. And if I like it, I'll take it. That's how I select books. And I think it's very popular, you know that, because you have to replenish that constantly. So I think if one day I walk into my library and I see a book which is a romance, it's a gay romance, homosexual romance, I would probably gonna pick it up because it will be different for me. It probably will be the only one because I haven't seen any, not even at the airport, because I normally pick up some book, same story, but I haven't seen them. So I think your rainbow group is really not only unique, but really, really interesting. It says a lot about your mind and your position, your spiritual position in the world, I would say. We are just humans. Somebody said here today, we just like people until they messed up, then we don't like them anymore. It's that simple. I think it's fantastic that you opened the door, and publicity probably you don't need, because the word will go, you know, between friendships and circles and all those sort of things. But what a magnificent thought, I thought, you know, being defense. So is there any other question? That is your last chance.
One will come up in chat.
Somebody came up.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, question from chat is, do you feel that the book club has helped to break down barriers between diverse and non-diverse with the Townsville community, or does Townsville already have a fairly open attitude to LGBTQI? Question mark.
Yeah, that's a good question.
This is it.
Well, that's a big one. Now, this is how I would approach it, Alan, is that I do have Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and non-Indigenous that come to my book club. Now, I do have, they come to my book club, and that's fine. And then they are, I think Townsville's still not a bit ready for the GLBTIs, but I think in one sense they're ready, in another sense they're not. So then I look at the Indigenous cultures, like the Indigenous culture, the men and women, if they're either gay or lesbian or either one of bisexual, that they still hide their identity within themselves, so they're not ready to give it to give it to their families. I'm talking from the Indigenous perspective, but then you've got some that are so, like when I looked at the gay Mardi Gras, you looked at Tiwi Island. I mean, they're proud of who they are, and I thought, well, it is coming out. So, you know, if it's coming out nationally, well, I think there's a few groups around here in Townsville. So, you know, but I was just concentrating on a book club for them, for an outlet for them to just come and be relaxed in an environment here. But I think it's I think it's between I think it would be about a balanced audience. So does that answer her question okay? Yes.
Yes, he said thank you, Janice. That was good.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question to the audience? I'm just curious, you know, like my field of work is being for the last 20 years diversity within those boxes that we put in. So I'm a Latino American. I read in Spanish and in English, whatever come my way, really. And I can see, you know, what some people based on their culture will be reading, with the exception of the Russians that read everything. We can see here when requests arrive for the collection that we make available how in the publishing industry, for example, in the Philippines, it's a lot and lots of romance. For the Thai community, also lots and lots of love stories. Where is diversity in it? I have no idea. But how many of you in your library have romance, homosexual, gay romance, the good stuff? How many of your libraries? Okay, a few. Okay, I just haven't seen it. Maybe I haven't looked for it, but I will. So in the future, you see me coming, you know what I'm going to be looking for. So I don't see any other question. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. You brought a really, really interesting perspective of inclusion, which is fundamental, I think. I think many of the librarians present here today, they will go home. They do have some collections available. And think about, because today we were talking about festivity and how we celebrate, Chinese New Year, or how we celebrate Australia Day. There might be an opportunity that where we can link Mardi Gras and the opening of a new book club to the community. But true, we need to have those connections before. We need to have those friendships going. We need to have an open mind. And knowing that you might get a backlash from the rest of the community, and you just say, hey, you know, we have the freedom to be whatever we want to be.
Yep.
So thank you very much. And we hope to see you in Sydney soon, or we might have to go and visit you. Okay, so
thank you very much.
Do we still have
So I can finish, or?
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. I'll just turn the recording off.
Thank you. So I'm going to get my way out of here now.